Today's Stripe Show podcast is brought to you by Hack Motion. And we're back, Stripe Show podcast on a Wednesday. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Hope you're off to a great week. I am back in Florida after a few days up in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle, Washington. Trip I make every single year for week one, the first home game of the Seahawks. Took my son this year, his first game, first experience, 8 years old, and, we get the beat down on Sunday from the Rams, which was a bit unexpected, so we tried it. Different sport. On Monday, took him to the Mariners game, and, we lost that one in 11 innings. So, wasn't the greatest in from the context of wins and losses, but just an absolute fantastic time, perfect weather with my son, taking him back to Seattle, his first home game in football, baseball. Spent some time with my parents who introduced me to professional sports there in Seattle. So it was a cool experience. And every time I go out to the Pacific Northwest, and then I'm traveling back, of course, these are long flights. You know, you go to Atlanta and then you go from Atlanta, Seattle. So you have a lot of time to sit there and kind of think about things. And of course, the excitement going out, we're getting ready to go to some games, see some people, have some fun. So you're excited about that. But every time I come back, about an hour and a half into the flight, we get over Colorado, somewhere in there. It's like clockwork. It hits me where I start to get excited again to get back to Florida, get back in the seat, get back in front of the microphone, and talk about professional golf again, talk about golf instruction, talk about the things that I enjoy doing. And this time in particularly, I got really excited because I knew today we were going to do a podcast on Justin Thomas, all things Justin Thomas today on his game. We're going to look at Justin Thomas, his game this year, which has been a wreck. I mean, abysmal. I mean, he has not had a good year when it comes to anything. Driving the ball, his iron game, his putting's been a mess. Lots of missed cuts, very few top 20s. And so Justin Thomas hasn't been the best version of himself. Now, make no mistake, I think every professional golfer, every golfer for that matter, if you play enough, you're going to go through periods of a slump. It's just the way the game is. It's a hard game. It can beat you down, especially at the professional level. And so here we are with Justin Thomas. He's going through a slump. We saw it with Ricky Fowler, 3 years. We saw it with Jordan Spieth, 3 years. We've seen it with Tiger. We've seen it with really every player. They go through a slump. The difference this time with Justin Thomas is in the midst of this slump, we're going to ask him to play in the Ryder Cup. Now, I'm not going to go down that path anymore of my thoughts on how the criteria went about. I think it's very clear when you look at the picks. The message is that you are either part of this club or you're not. The chemistry is defined by, do we all get along? I have different thoughts on that. But JT is here. I hope JT plays well. In fact, I hope he plays well this week at the Fortinet Championship and builds a little bit of momentum. I hope Max Homa plays well this week, the defending champion. He's won the last 2 years. I think that does matter. I do think momentum does matter to some degree. Now, according to Zach Johnson and his comments coming in, and I'm not surprised, I'm paraphrasing, but Zach basically said that it doesn't really matter how these guys played. He's not putting much stock into that. I don't think Zach really put much stock into how these guys played anyway throughout the year. So here we are. This is our team, and Justin Thomas is trying to find some form. And so I've been looking at Justin Thomas, as I do. This is something that I enjoyed to do. We've done this with some other players. We did it with Scotty Scheffler's putting just a few weeks back. And I got a lot of feedback. And so I wanted to do it on Justin Thomas. So we're going to look at his swing in when Justin Thomas was one of the best ball strikers in the world. And we're talking about Justin Thomas is an elite top 3, top 5 iron player in the world. So when you look at his stats this year, strokes gained total driving 66, strokes gained approach 44th, you're like, 44 is not that bad. Justin Thomas is usually being like 1, 2, or 3. Strokes gained putting 144th. And so let's get into it here, starting with Justin Thomas and just kind of how we look at Justin Thomas's swing over the years, right? And you look at Justin Thomas, the first thing that comes to mind always with me is Justin Thomas is an upright player, kind of an old school type of upright player. You look at that left arm and you watch the left arm at the top, that left arm is at the back of the neck. I would say most players that you see on the PGA Tour, the left arm is a little lower than that, probably closer to the right shoulder. We'll see some that go right across the right shoulder. And you'll see a couple that are even a little lower than the right shoulder, like a Matt Kuchar. But the left arm there is kind of a la Dustin Johnson. You think of Colin Montgomery, a left arm that was very upright. And so always upright, club face always a little bit open. Justin Thomas, to me, is a player that kind of rotates the face. You look at the face, kind of right in here. He's always someone that's going to get the toe a little bit more up. A little more toe hang at the top. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just saying this is what Justin Thomas's swing has always been. I think the other thing when I think of Justin Thomas is this first move. The hand path is always one that I think kind of goes in. I know Justin Thomas over the years has always continued to work on the club head there, keeping the club head a little more out in front of him. Hands kind of in, lead arm against the chest, as you can see those for watching on YouTube. But the left arm, upper left arm, kind of up against the chest, hand path kind of in line with that left chest area, and the club head a little out in front. And I like that club head a little out in front. That's something Justin Thomas works on a fair amount. Club head a little bit out in front. And then from there, the left arm goes up. So it's kind of hands in, club head out, and then the left arm goes up. And then from there, the shaft pitches back a bit. He always comes down a little bit on the steeper side with a decent amount of face rotation. So to me, that's kind of always been Justin Thomas's swing. It's a bit of a throwback. I wouldn't say it's a handsy swing, but I would say it has a bit more face rotation, a bit more hand action than you would say with a Victor Hovland, that you would say with a Dustin Johnson, or maybe even a Jon Rahm. Again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying this has always been Justin Thomas's swing. And so one of the comments I get a lot in my DMs and even through email and text and all these other ways you can communicate is that, well, Justin Thomas has always had an upright swing. And I was like, well, okay, now wait a minute. Okay, so look at Justin Thomas back in 2015 on the left there. And kind of interesting, right? Back in his collegiate days, I do think Justin Thomas, his left arm, as you can see on the picture on the left, is, well, more across his right shoulder. And so Justin, into his professional days, definitely has gotten more upright. And it's bode well for him. I mean, Justin Thomas is a prolific winner on the PGA Tour, two-time major champion. He's won the Players. I mean, this is one of the best players in American golf. But it's interesting when you look at Justin Thomas on the left versus the right, back towards his college days, he had more depth in his lead arm. His lead arm definitely more across his shoulder. I don't think his grip has changed much. I don't know that for sure. The club face, as a result of that lead arm a bit deeper, you can see, kind of matched up to the left forearm. And then on the right there, harder to see the face, a little more toe hang because the left arm is more upright. But the club face is, in theory, more parallel to his left arm. So I don't think the grip, wrist angles have changed. I just think what we're looking at there is lead arm depth. Okay, the lead arm is just deeper behind him, the thoracic spine, probably a bit more mobile. I don't think he's gotten it much more through his hips. You can see about the same amount of space between the knees, just looking at it in the balls. I'm not measuring this. These are just what my eyes are telling me, right? Like, you can measure all this stuff, of course, in 3D, but just looking at it and, through my eyes and watching golf for 25 years of instruction, you can clearly see the left arm is different. And so I go now and I fast forward to this video that Justin posted. What was it? At the end of last week, I believe. It's been out there a little while now. And of course, it kind of blew up. It got my eye because everybody wants to know, well, where are we at here, Justin? You know, what are we working on? Is it getting better? We need Justin Thomas to play well on the American side. And so he's out there grinding. And I want you to watch this video and this rehearsal. Watch this. Okay. It always appears to me Justin is trying to get back more to where he was when he was younger, right? I watched that rehearsal, and to me, he's trying to take that picture on the right and make it look more like the picture on the left. So you can see that rotation in the left forearm, that rotating that left forearm, that shaft, definitely more horizontal, that left arm really trying to round out. And I would bet that Justin likes this particular video, because that's his feel. But then the reality is, when you look at this at the top of the swing with JT, you can see that left arm. Now, granted, it is a fairway wood. That left arm's more around him, right? It's definitely deeper. It's definitely more around him, flatter, deeper, like it looked back in 2015, back in his college days at Alabama. And so I think he probably really likes the look of this. Now, the one thing that really sticks out as he's attempting to do this is his hand path. His hand path right there, you can see, is working definitely wider. Like it's more out, away. And that's the one that I kind of get hung up on, is that hand path. The hand path working kind of out, away from the body. And then rotate the left arm, shaft flatter, lead arm deeper. I get all that. That hand path right there. That's the one that makes me nervous. I totally get the shaft pitch. I totally get the left arm depth, maybe trying to get it, move the needle back to where he used to be. But that move right there, that hand path, is the one that concerns me the most. HackMotion is an innovative wrist analysis sensor and app that measures players' wrist and hand movement in the golf swing. With audio feedback and different drill modes, it offers the capability to improve players' wrist mechanics in the golf swing to provide a better club face control and impact position. HackMotion can be used for both full swing and putting to cover all golf shots. HackMotion is used by some of the top golf coaches today around the world. Visit HackMotion.com. And so I fast forward now and I show you a comparison. I show you a comparison of the iron swing that he posted that same day of the video that I just showed you with the fairway wood. And that's the sequence up top versus Justin in the Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits. And so you look at this, and there's a lot to look at there, right? To the amateur eye, you're probably trying to kind of filter through that and this and that. And real quick, for note, the pool noodles that you see up top there were a lot of jokes about the pool noodles. Look, this is common practice for a lot of players. These are things that players use to help them what they're working on. It doesn't concern me at all that Justin Thomas has two pool noodles there. What concerns me are the two pictures on the left. Okay, you look at Justin Thomas up top there, top left, you can see his hand path is definitely wider and more away from him. Look at the space between his left arm and his chest. Now you look at the bottom. Bottom left, hand path at the Ryder Cup a couple years ago, hand path more in, just like the initial video I showed you. Left arm more against the chest. That's the biggest difference. That, to me, would be the biggest concern. Wider with the hand path. Again, club head in relationship to the hands, about the same. You can see a little more face rotation up top there naturally as he goes wider. He'll rotate the left arm just like I showed you in that previous video, trying to get the shaft pitch a bit flatter, trying to get the left arm a bit deeper. And then I think as a result of really kind of how he shaped it going back, look, coming down, you can see in that middle picture on the third one from the left, you can see how the club head's definitely more out in front of him there, where on the bottom third, you can see the club head a bit more behind the hands. And then from there, of course, he's going to turn and hit it. So when I look at this, there's kind of two buckets here. One is his hand path. His hand path, to me, what it looks like he's working on is getting his hands wider out in front of him. Okay. And then the second bucket is he's trying to rotate that left forearm and get the shaft a bit flatter and the left arm a bit more around him. So those are the two buckets as I see it. The second bucket, I think, makes the most sense. Again, it goes back to what the comparison is here, trying to get a little more like the picture on the left. The first bucket is where my concern lies, his hand path. Not sure I would be trying to get the hand path that much more out in front. And the reason I say that is based off of what I've been looking at for years and years and years of JT swing. Rotating the left arm right there with the shaft a bit flatter, getting the left arm a bit deeper, check, all in. Hand path, wider, left arm more off the chest. That's the one I would be the most concerned about. And I say that because if he gets caught in between here, hand path more out with the left arm more upright and the shaft flatter, that would be a concern, at least in my eyes. So it's interesting, right? It's interesting to watch how JT is going about this. World-class player trying to kind of put the pieces back together, and it sounds like on his own. It sounds like his longtime coach and his dad, Mike Thomas, he's trying to go about it more on his own now. Kind of mixed. It seems like mixed reports here of whether he's all the way out or he's still part of it. Who knows? But, look, to this point, these guys have done a brilliant job. JT, one of the best players in professional golf, certainly a staple in the fabric of American golf. It's just always interesting when a player struggles, how they go about putting the pieces back together. The first place I always look is, well, what got them there, right? What got them there? And that's why I go back to the, where they were when they were young in college there on the left, JT, versus when they played great golf as a professional, which is in there. And then how they kind of go back putting the pieces together and extrapolating what I'm seeing in the videos that they post. And what I love about Justin is he gives us the content. I love it. He puts it out there. So those are a few thoughts on the full swing. Now, he also gave us some putting. And perhaps this is the biggest concern because his putting's been bad. When I think of Justin Thomas as a putter, I think of, JT as being a very, meticulous in his mind. It always looks like he's running through a small checklist, kind of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, and then boom. It looks meticulous, like I got to do this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, then I hit it. And so, you're always, my initial thought to that is, God, just go up and hit it. Free it up. But that doesn't always work that way because there's a lot of minds that think like this. I think Tiger was a little like this. I mean, Tiger looked very kind of methodical in the way that he would go up, and maybe focus is probably the better word. To be certainly that, but just you could tell it was being careful with it. Like, this is what I do. Some guys just go up, they aim it, they look at it, and they hit it. God, wouldn't that be nice? So JT, that's always the first thing. The second thing is it's always a little wooden to me. When I look at JT, he always just looks a bit kind of wooden. There's always a little more tension in there than maybe that would kind of meet the eye aesthetically. And so that's JT. That's the way he's putted. The The third thing, he's always been streaky. Like JT, when he starts to putt good, he goes. And so I wouldn't be surprised if, look, he kind of got fire with the putter and off he went. Now, the putter's been ailing throughout the year, 140 strokes game putting. I think what's interesting with JT is when he was younger, he worked with Matt Killen. They worked for a long time, and then he switched to John Graham. They were together for a few years. He let go of John, and it sounds like he's trying to go about it to himself, right? And so again, JT struggling with his putting. Let's go back to when he was maybe putting pretty well. And what did he used to do? And so now I bring in a video from a few years ago, and this is JT. And this was in the midst of a very good putting stretch. He was definitely in the upper third in strokes gained putting on the PGA Tour. And so you look at this, right? And you just kind of watch JT with this setup and stroke. And I just bring this back. Attention golfers, if you're looking to upgrade your game with a set of high-quality clubs that are blazing fast, beyond forgiving, and beautifully made, check out the all-new PXG Gen 6 golf clubs. Not only are they easy to hit, they deliver outstanding distance and incredible accuracy, lowering your scores and bringing you more fun on the golf course. What more could you want? Schedule your Gen 6 fitting today at pxg.com or by calling 844-PLAY-PXG. And so you can see up top there that he's definitely a little closer to the ball, and the putter shaft is more upright. JT on the bottom, which kind of surprised me a little. I thought JT would scoot up just a little bit. But you can clearly see on the bottom there, his most recent video, a little further away, putter shaft not as upright. Now, I think that's significant because when JT goes through his routine, you can always see the top of his left wrist is in what we call a more ulnar deviation, almost like unhinged down, like you're trying to take your left thumb and push down. I like that. And then the right elbow kind of soft, like he's always trying to kind of get underneath the grip. Watch this video here. I'm gonna play this recent video. Watch. Do you see the left hand? You can see it up top, and then look at his right hand really getting underneath. So I like that. But what's important there is when you stand a little further away, that putter shaft is going to lower down. And when you're trying to get in that left wrist dynamic and that right hand under right elbow, soft right form, maybe matching up, then the putter head can start to arc a little too much. It can start to take on that bigger arc. Now, we want an arc. But I do think when you look at JT now, it appears to me that the putter head is definitely more on an arc versus up top there again. In the full swing comparison, you can see now that he's closer, the shaft more upright. It's easier for that left wrist, right elbow dynamic. He doesn't have to work quite as hard. And you can also see that the posture, and I've got some other video too, from previous years where it just looked like his lower back was even softer yet. Like it was flatter on the bottom. It almost feels like it's kind of, there's a little dish there. And you can see up top, there's more of that kind of C, that natural C posture. And then that even takes it into the neck. Like the neck looks more tilted down, like his eyes are looking more straight down. Where I think, again, on the bottom, you back up, a little more rigid posture, a little dish in that lower back. The neck isn't tilted down as much. All these things kind of add up, right? And I think it all stems from the distance from the ball. And then from there, him trying to get into that left wrist, right elbow dynamic that I just showed you, and the net effect that that has to the putter head. So the result to me, when I look at JT now, is it appears the putter head's a little more on an arc. And I think when you match that up with the putter face wanting to take on a little rotation with it, kind of like his golf swing, that can be a lot to time up. Now, again, not right or wrong. I'm just showing you the comparison between the two. Can JT putt well with the bottom? Of course he can. I'm convinced that these guys could probably putt well or hit a ball well doing just about anything. I mean, they're just the elite of the elite. So these are very talented people here with their craft. They can make a lot of things work. But again, in comparison to the previous years, like we did in the full swing, it's a little different. JT, to me, in years past, was a little closer, shaft more upright, softer lower back, a little more C posture, eyes looking down, and the putter head not arcing quite as much. Still a little face rotation in there, but not arcing quite as much. And to me, that is the difference between the two. So it's interesting to always look back to where players were, and for years and years, maybe to where they are now, in particularly when things start to get off track. And I know a lot of teachers do that. You know, I talk to a lot of teachers that work with professional golfers and a lot of teachers in general. And oftentimes when things get off track with these types of players, you go back to when they were not off track and when they were really good. I think Chris Como did a great job with Tiger Woods when he came back. They look back at his older footage and, where he was very successful and what his body obviously was capable of doing. I think Ricky Fowler, when you went back to Butch Harmon, lots of examples. And I think today's pod, looking at Justin Thomas, right in the middle of his struggle here, full swing and putting, that's what I did. So I hope you enjoyed it. It's always fascinating. It's interesting to me. I hope it's interesting to you. And we're going to do more of that. I really appreciate the support on the podcast. Scotty Scheffler, as I mentioned, that was a great response. Victor Hovland, and looking at the evolution of Victor Hovland's short game and talking about his swing, and now Justin Thomas. And I'm working on a couple others as well for you here as we roll on into the fall. I'm also working on a special guest for tomorrow, so stay tuned on that. Fortinet Championship, the season-long race to the FedEx Cup, starts this week out in California. Don't miss it. Defending champ Max Homa, he's there, two-time defending champ. And Keith Stewart did a great job yesterday going solo as I was flying back. If you're into making money, listen on Tuesdays, Best Bets. Keith Stewart, he only picked 10 winners last year. The guy is absolutely insane how good he is at it. He'll be with me every Tuesday. He did a great job yesterday. Go look at that. He'll be back next week as we start to look ahead to the Ryder Cup. I can't wait for the Ryder Cup. I think it's going to be fascinating. Of course, the Solheim Cup is the week before that. And so team competition is here. Stripe Show Pod. I'm Travis Fulton. Thank you for being here. Working on a special one for tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. See you.